Welcome to AI Trust Talks. This season is special. We're launching the Road to SAP Connect 2026, which is a series of conversations exploring what it truly means to build connected, intelligent, and trusted enterprises in the age of AI. At AI Trust Talks, we believe that technology alone doesn't transform organizations, people do. AI is powerful, but power without trust is fragile. That's why this partnership matters. SAP Connect 2026 is more than an event. It's a moment, it's a platform where leaders, partners, innovators, policymakers, and technologists come together to explore how AI can strengthen connection across industries, ecosystems, and generations. Our mission at AI Trust Talks has always been clear: to elevate the conversation around AI beyond the hype and toward responsibility, collaboration, and meaningful impact. We believe human and AI connection must coexist. Collaboration accelerates safe and responsible innovation, and everyone should have a voice in shaping how AI evolves. AI is not being built in isolation. It's being built by people across enterprises, governments, and communities. And bringing those conversations to the forefront with the leaders delivering real-world impact is exactly where we want to take AI Trust Talks. This is the road to SAP Connect 2026. Let's begin. So, welcome to AI Trust Talks.
Thank you so much, Emma, for having me.
It's good to have you here. So I want us to start off today by hearing a bit about your experience and expertise that you bring to the table.
I'm basically blessed and to be part of this journey that you have been through over the past, let's say, 30, 35 years, how the government transformed over the years. I've been in that journey for 20 years in the professional workspace, very specifically in the intersection between government and enterprise. I'm one of the few Emiratis that spent majority of his professional career in the private sector, but heavily serving the public sector and the government side. Being part of many of the digital initiatives, journeys, shaping how government utilize and adopt and strategize when it comes to digital initiatives. And nowadays, obviously, with the main trend around how can the AI ambition be translated in every single digital journey or every single customer interaction, as well as core business process.
Really looking forward to getting your insights about the UAE and where we're really going in this space. So the UAE has truly positioned itself as a global leader in the AI space. What do you think has really made that possible?
I think I can tackle this question in a broader context and then maybe I can narrow it down. There is a key formula that UAE has followed across every aspect, and this is how we are proud to say that we are basically one of the nations that has been leading in many fronts. And that is because there has been a clear vision and a clear strategy from day one. And there are maybe three pillars I would like to tackle on. One is the clear strategy that the leadership and the country has basically formed, followed by speed of execution. And that is extremely important because you could strategize, but you could start executing it after X amount of years. In UAE, it was not the case. When a strategy is being put into place, and execution follows immediately. And sometimes executions basically happen in parallel as we strategize. Third is the strong ecosystem that the UAE has created between the private and the government sector. We see the partnership that happens in that level, which improves, by the way, be it either the SME level to innovate or at the enterprise level to scale up the use cases and the initiatives. So I think these three pillars ensured how UAE is leading. And if we talk very specifically on the AI space, we witnessed that in 2017. We were the first country that appoints a minister on AI and put the guideline in place, put the strategy in place. It helped startups to basically start focusing on specific initiatives. Enterprises knows what use cases they can work on. Government understood the direction. So I think that kind of clarity helps us as a nation to basically be in the lead.
And I really like the points you've made, especially around the ecosystem that's been built from not just the government strategy, but the partnership between public-private sector down to the SMEs. And we're seeing AI campuses pop up in a number of different situations and across different jurisdictions in the UAE. And it's really key to have that whole central view. You've also mentioned the Minister of AI. One of my favorite interviews with him was someone asked him what's it like if he was to attend a global forum around ministers of AI. And he was like, it'd be very lonely. I am the only person that would attend that meeting. How important is it for nations to really have a clear AI strategy rather than just simply adopting emerging technologies?
I think we are seeing a very clear divide here because if you're having a clear strategy in place, you have clarity on what you are building. Every sector in the market understands what they basically are doing. Without a strategy, you're going to have a lot of innovation noise, a lot of fragmented adoption. But with a clear strategy, even if there are initiatives that would fail, but you know that you are basically building for a specific mission, for a specific outcome. So that failure will basically give you a learning outcome to basically build again. So this, I believe, a clear divide. If I don't have a strategy, then I am basically adapting and I'm using AI as a tool and I'm not building it as an infrastructure for the nation.
I think that's key, building those infrastructure and foundations. And you might see some organizations rolling out one particular large language model and saying, oh, we're fully AI driven, when it's really just an efficiency tool, not looking at the true foundations and infrastructure of it. What role do you think international collaboration truly plays in shaping AI leadership?
I think there is no question AI cannot be built alone. A country cannot basically build AI in silo. There is collaboration is a must between entities, organizations, countries when it comes to innovating on AI. But at the same time, there is as well control aspect that needs to basically be maintained, especially when it comes to ownership as well as decision making. I think that's when we're going to touch into the sovereignty part. But when it comes to collaboration, talent has to flow between nations so that we can basically collaborate and innovate. Infrastructure might be as well allowed to basically be utilized between nations. Language models, a mix and a hybrid is what basically we're going to see moving forward.
What I'm really like to seeing in the world of AI development is we know a lot of the most famous potentially large language models out there today is predominantly trained on English. And yet here we are with universities here locally, Mohammed bin Zayed University for AI, building the first Arabic large language model. And that's just where we're going to start seeing huge inclusion across the world when we have these large language models in different languages rolled out in a good number of countries as well. Would you say, in your opinion, that we are moving towards global alignment in AI or more fragmentation?
I like to say that we are moving towards more alignment, obviously, and I think that's the case. Even if it is not intended, I think it's a must that we basically go much more aligned. I think we're going to see a lot of alignment when it comes to how we use AI, which use cases we use it in, the ethics around AI, the safety that we need to basically ensure, the principles around building AI. Nowadays, there might be a bit of fragmentation, but obviously that's the case in every technology evolution that we have witnessed. But with AI, because of the pace it's moving in, I think we're going to see much more alignment happening.
It's definitely needed to make the world a
100%.
better place. We've talked a bit about sovereignty, and I really want us to deep dive into this more because it's such a key topic right now, and especially in the UAE. How do you think organizations should, especially global organizations, really balance innovation with the requirements through sovereignty and how to contain that control?
Sovereignty is obviously an extremely important topic for nations since AI becoming much more of a national agenda, especially when it comes to control on decision making, control on data, then sovereignty is important. But what I like to basically say is that we should really be very specific when we talk about sovereignty because there are different layers that we can speak about. And most of the time, when we talk about sovereignty, immediately we go on the data level and we start basically discussing data residency and the residency of language models, where I think we should basically also touch into other layers. And very importantly, for example, where does the layer of control on the process or the control on the decision making happening? So the consumption part, the business logic, we're going to see much more embedded AI into the core business process. And that's where sovereignty is also extremely important because, in my opinion, leading nations will start using much more embedded AI in every sector and every industry. You talk about financial, supply chain, you talk about workforce, industries like real estate, banking, oil and gas. So the more you go in these core industries and embedding AI into their core business process, sovereignty doesn't become just about data residency and about data. It becomes more about how the process is actually functioning and how the decision making are happening, especially when AI are making these decisions. So it's extremely that we basically touch into these different layers when we talk about sovereignty.
There's one more part I think I'd add to sovereignty, and that'll be around culture. And how do you retain cultures with the use of AI as well? How do you retain that authenticity and what the culture of that particular country wants to stand by as well, on top of the data layers and the actual usage of AI as well? There's so many different layers, as you say, to sovereignty.
I hope that when we basically talk about AI and AI sovereignty, we don't reach to a stage where it becomes a bargaining and a tool to basically utilize, similar to what happened 50, 60, 70 years ago when it comes to nuclear scientists, for example, are not allowed to basically be in specific countries. So we don't want that to happen with AI. We need talents to flow. And when we talk about sovereignty as well, yes, there should be control on a specific element, but there should be collaborations on many others.
Agreed. It's absolutely key for the success of not just AI, but the world and industries,
Exactly.
all growing together. So let's touch a bit on policy and regulation. There's often tension between regulation or the need for controls and innovation. How do you see that balance really evolving?
If I would be provocative, I think there's no balance. I don't think regulation will ever catch up with how technology is fast moving. I think the pace is extremely big, and regulators should change how they think. It's not regulate and then innovate, it's regulate as I innovate. That's extremely important. The regulators have to be part of the design phase of any technological evolution. We cannot wait for policies to be reformed or regulations to basically be done. And UE is extreme proof of that. We have been practicing and implementing while, yes, there is a general guideline in place, there is a strategy in place, and the regulations and the policies are being reformed as we go. Many would see that regulations are holding innovation back, but I think regulations and regulators should think that they are more often playing the enablement role, because what would hold innovation back is not really the policy or the regulation, it's much more being uncertain of what the final outcome is or uncertain about the risks that I could be facing. That's where regulation comes into play. It protects me when this uncertainty occur. And that is important. And that's how they should go hand in hand.
I really like this. The alignment between regulators and developers or industries are there together and be on the journey together. And it doesn't necessarily need to be written in a document. It's more just learn together. One thing that I really like about the AI strategy here in the UAE is it has already provided guidelines around the adoption of safe, responsible, and ethical AI. So it already was within that strategy and to help say, yes, we want to innovate, but we also want to do it safely. In your opinion, what does good AI governance really look like, either at a national level or at an ecosystem level?
It has to be a governance on different layers, especially when it comes to cascading risks on different layers. It has to be principle based as well. It doesn't have to be too restricted, and it has to be much more allowing agility and flexibility for startups to be able to innovate and for enterprises to be able to scale up use cases. It has to basically ensure role and responsibility for different players in the market, government in basically putting the right strategy and the right vision, enterprises to work on scaling up the use cases, academia to basically be sure how they can supply the right talents into the market, and SMEs and startups to basically start innovating. I think the governance model at the moment, it's basically defining how the stakeholders can operate within the segment or the sector. That's going to be how we can ensure fruitful outcome.
I like how you've brought academia to the table as well, and we'll dig into a bit more of that. When you work with either SAP or with your customers or partners, how are you seeing organizations adapt to this? Do you think they're asking for more regulation or asking for more flexibility on the development?
Both, I would say, definitely both. They would need much more flexibility when they would like to innovate, 100%. And they will need much more regulations when there are sensitive business process or core processes are being involved. So I think much more regulated on that front, and much more flexibility when innovation comes into play. So a hybrid model is what I would see that in the market. But I also would say that we see much more interest and much more demand to use AI more invisibly, like you don't even feel it. So it's much more embedded within the business. And that's what we do at SAP. That's what we basically have been made our bet on. That the more embedded AI in the core business process is the direction moving forward. And I think that creates the balance between having much more regulated core business process and allows innovation on the platform that can enable AI services.
How important is the collaboration between public and private sector? Yes, in the world of AI and how to drive the right, responsible, ethical, safe AI. But then broader in your role in government affairs, where have you seen that collaboration between public and private sector show the most benefits?
In every aspect, it's important. As I said, it has to be built in collaboration. If you go into policy shaping, that's where the public and the private can collaborate to ensure the sustainability of the private sector and ensure as well the safety and the ethical implementation of AI for the government part. Even in the infrastructure on the implementation side, you will see big collaboration between the public and the private. Big example of what's happening in the capital city in Abu Dhabi, big implementation or the big partnership that G42 is leading with various firms across the globe. It's crucial to basically have that kind of collaboration in place. I think we basically go to much more integration and collaboration between the two different sectors. When we talk about private, I would like to emphasize it's not just the enterprise layer in the private sector. There should be a lot of support enablement for the SME sector and the startups, because I believe that's where agility and innovation plays major role.
Yeah, definitely need to have all those layers of organisations in the private sector. So we've touched a bit on ecosystem and partnerships and collective progress, and I want us to deep dive a bit more into this. So we know that AI innovation doesn't happen in isolation, but what does a strong AI ecosystem really look like in practice?
I think the right ecosystem is having these four players aligning between each other. The government in setting the vision and the strategy, the private sector and enterprises in building this impactful and scaling up the use cases in collaboration with the government sector. The role that academia will play in research and in talent development, equipping the market with the right skills. And then the SME business and the startup business for agility and innovation. These four stakeholders are extremely important to create the right ecosystem within the market.
We've built a whole university here in the UAE just for AI. And it's just incredible as part of the vision and the leadership to really be one of those front players in the age of AI to even build a university around it. Are you seeing a lot of collaboration between private sector and, let's say, Mohammed bin Zayed University for AI or other universities in the region?
All universities. There is a collaboration happening with all universities. Obviously, Hamad bin Zayed University for AI is the most obvious one. For example, with SAP, we collaborate with almost all the universities in the country to either find use cases or equipping talents or shaping, for example, specific curriculum as well to enable the talents that are going to come to the market with the latest technologies. I myself as well is part of the advisory board of two universities. One of them is the American University of Sharjah and the other is the University of Sharjah, both on the College of Engineering side and computer science and computer engineering. And I have seen how the collaboration of the private sector is impacting how the academia is shaping, changing the material and the context that they actually bring to the talents. So yeah, it's happening across. It's happening as well, by the way, with the private sector. It's happening with the government sector, not only with the academia side, with the government sector to enable the talents that are in the market. So there is huge initiatives, major initiatives that's happening across the country to enable and equip talents at different level. We see the initiative that happen when it comes to the chief of AI officers across the country. Various universities are even now designing master programs only for that category. So I think we see that across different universities and different institutions.
And I know SAP's got a really strong graduate program for bringing Emiratis into the organisation. What sort of use cases are you working with universities on, and where do you see that collaboration happening?
Sector-wise, there are use cases a lot on the transportation side, healthcare side, education. Obviously, healthcare and education are maybe the two biggest when it comes to use cases. But as I said, mobility and transportation part is big. In the energy sector, there is various use cases. Consumer business is also a lot in the consumption side, the retail business, the commerce business. Many of these industries, not new that we say that AI will impact all the industries, but there are some core industries that are defining really strong use cases where collaboration is needed. If we would talk about maybe nation level as well, there are a lot that has to do on the supply chain side, ensuring the journey between the buyer and the supplier is basically being fulfilled using a lot of AI use cases and AI agents. We see a lot when it comes in the workforce side, the planning stage, across as well the country. There are various use cases on that, be it on the federal layer or the local government layer. There are many to basically mention.
You mentioned transportation, so I must ask you, have you had the opportunities to sit in an autonomous vehicle yet here in the UAE?
Yeah, myself, yes.
Oh, wow. How was it?
At the beginning, it's obviously scary. You cannot basically resist not basically raising your arms, basically try to take over control. But after a while, you basically really enjoy it. You really feel the transformation that is upcoming. It's really impressive, yes.
It's pretty exciting time to kind of be here and actually living and breathing the true elements of what we're going to see in future. Do you think organizations are doing enough on the collaboration point, or do you think that there is still a lot more siloed approaches and there's still a lot more we could do?
I would like to say that we are getting better. There's a lot of collaboration happening and integration as well across different entities within the Emirates level, our Emirates scale, as well as across the local government and the federal government layer. There have been various examples of that when it comes to the digital journeys that are enabled on the digital platforms that the government is supplying to the citizens and the residents in the country. And that being said, there are a lot still of silo implementation, but I think that is a journey we have to take. Potentially, we will need to basically move many of these silo fragmented adoptions that happened. And I would say they happened for a reason. Either they have been pilot initiatives or they have been legacy systems that existed. As we move forward, we're going to see much more integration, much more collaborations happening that with the optimal goal to integrate much better lifestyle for the residents. We have seen or we have heard the announcement of Sheikh Hamdan recently as well that, for example, in Dubai, the digital journey is not anymore restricted on the government level. It's a digital journey across the Emirate of Dubai. So, be it government, semi government, private sector, that has to be all integrated across one single platform. And that's going to enable as well moving away from the silo and fragmented systems.
And do you think there's any barriers to really enabling that pure AI ecosystem?
The biggest barrier would be the data silos or the data availability. If I would build AI in silos, fragmented, which is what we said that could define how we can not be in the leading front. And that could be a biggest barrier because if I don't feed it with good quality amount of data integrated between different entities, then that is a big barrier. There will be barrier that has to do, for example, when it comes to the right talents that are existing in the market. I would encourage and I would basically hope that we have much more inflow of talents, be it within the country or outside the country. And I think in UAE, we have done amazing in encouraging as well, attracting talent to basically be in the country. The main barrier that I would see if implementations were done in silos and data are not integrated and accessible, I think that is the big barrier for implementing a big scale AI.
I think it's the talent, and I want to dig a bit more into kind of the future of work and the future of talent and the societal impact of AI as well. But I think you're right. It's become such an incredible place to live that talents are naturally moving to the UAE for opportunities as well. So let's talk about the future of workforce. What does that truly look like in an AI driven world?
A lot of digital assistants that will be supporting us in the workforce. It's not about competing with our jobs, it's more about enabling us to do better jobs. Obviously, the market will be reshaped based on who uses AI in his daily job and who knows how to utilize AI. So it's how do we upskill and reskill ourselves to utilize AI in the workspace. If we don't do that, then we are basically putting ourselves at the risk of being replaced by AI. But that is not necessarily just with AI. It happened with every cycle in the past. The difference now is the pace. In the past, we had the time to reskill by the time we are adopting the technology that was new at that time. In this time frame, AI is moving extremely fast. That is maybe not enough for us to upskill and reskill. So that's why we have to basically do double the effort, maybe triple the effort to basically skill ourselves and upskill with the new skill sets that are needed to survive. And so I see it more as an enabling in the workforce.
And because we are on AI Trust Talks, we need to talk about trust. Is trust in AI a technical challenge or a societal one?
I like to see it that it starts as a technical challenge at the beginning, and then it moves to basically becoming much more societal. The moment the society start using it, so it starts at the beginning as a technical part. The moment that trust is built, then societies will start using it at scale.
I like that viewpoint. And How do we ensure then that AI truly does progress to serve humans, to serve society more broadly, rather than creating new inequalities?
That depends on how much societies will have access to AI. But the interesting part is I would see AI is much more embedded in our daily life. So we will not be seeing it as we basically are interacting with the tools at this stage. So it will become much more invisible in the future. So it will move more to ensuring equality rather than inequality. But that will depends hugely on how much access is granted to societies to basically have interactions with AI platforms or use cases that have AI embedded in them.
Definitely that accessibility point is critical to solving some of those inequalities we might see and making sure that all countries and all people have access to these tools, gain the benefits, but then that we don't build tools that may widen that equality gap as well. So what role does inclusion and diversity play when we are trying to shape responsible innovation or responsible AI?
Big part. It has to, AI by its nature, when it comes to collaboration and it cannot be built in silos, it has to be encouraging inclusion and diversity. If I don't build an AI model or an AI platform based on diversity and inclusion, then I will have a biased AI. That's not going to be an ethical implementation of AI. So I think that's where countries and entities has to align, that AI has to be inclusive and has to be basically much more diverse, so that I don't create biased decisions when it comes to implementation of these AI models or these AI use cases.
So let's look ahead to 2030. We know that the UAE's got a very strong strategy in place leading up to 2030. What should or would success look like in the age of AI at a national level?
I can't basically answer this question any other way than seeing AI much more embedded in every business process across sector and across industry. It becoming more invisible for the consumer, not realizing that they are actually interacting with AI. A business process is fully embedded with different touch points of AI agents, be it in every sector, in the financial sector, workforce side, as well as in the supply chain. We see it in every industry, in the healthcare side, in energy side, in the banking sector. I think much more embedded AI in the core business process is what I see that in the future, using AI more as an infrastructure national asset rather than a tool that can be consumed. Obviously, it will be because citizens and consumer will use it as a tool at the end, as an application. But for a country and a nation, what I would basically see in 2030 is much more embedded AI in various core business processes.
You just actually got me thinking about how we can access our utility applications here in the UAE, right? It's just connect to UAE Pass and, put my phone against the screen and I'm in because I'll never be able to remember my password to actually get into that. And you don't appreciate that that is all basically AI driven. And, you get faster access to your applications, to your bills, whatever it might be. And it just makes it so much simpler and so much easier to do things. So you can focus your time and efforts on more important topics or other topics.
100%. We're going to see much more even integration on that front. Utilities, transportation, for example, are much more integrated. AI will play a major role in that, in guiding us as we move to more electric vehicles, for example. How can my transportation route planning will impact my utility bill, stuff like that, what basically going to see. But that's going to be much more embedded, and only the insight I'll start basically utilizing. That's where I see the future is going.
And this is what excites me about AI is that enablement that just makes life so much easier. It's exciting times. So we have a signature question on AI Trust Talks. As AI becomes more embedded, and we've talked a lot about this today, what does connection mean to you in the age of AI? And how can we strengthen it together as we move towards 2030?
AI, when it is built as a national infrastructure asset with collaboration in mind and alignment with other nations under clear guidance of how sovereignty is built, so I innovate within a sovereign boundary, is the best outcome that we can actually get. And that's my statement.
Fantastic. I mean, well, thank you so much for joining us on AI Trust Talks today.
Thank you so much, Emma. Enjoyed the discussion.